Hey everyone. You know, when I did my audio video on the triple threat of Hell in a Cell matches that are going to take place at the Hell in a Cell event on October 30th of this, basically on the 30th of this month, I wanted to kind of focus more attention on the women's Hell in a Cell match. Now, as I said in that audio video, I believe the women's Hell in a Cell is going to make history. I believe it's going to make history twice in one moment, twice in one precise moment in time, if you will. Because what's going to happen is the women are not only going to be featured in the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, but I truly believe, due to the fact that the location for Hell in a Cell is in Boston, Massachusetts, Sasha Banks' hometown, I truly believe that because of what these women have done in revitalizing women's wrestling in the WWE and showing that they can be on equal par as the men, I truly believe that WWE is going to grant them another historical moment. And that historical moment is when they find out that their Hell in a Cell match will be closing out the Hell in a Cell event. In other words, they will be headlining the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. They will main event and close out the show with the Hell in a Cell match. Now you might say WWE won't do that. In the past, they wouldn't. But when you take a look at the circumstances right now, I don't think they have any other choice. Because I guarantee you this. If you put Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens last, despite the fact that it's just another part of the Triple H feud that Seth Rollins is in, then I can almost guarantee you, despite the fact that that crowd will love cheering for both Owens and Rollins during that match, they will boo unanimously if Sasha and Charlotte don't go on last. And it won't be a boo, as I mentioned in the other audio, a boo out of hatred towards Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. No, it'll be a boo out of disdain and hatred towards the WWE for making the decision to put Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens last and not put the hometown girl, Sasha Banks, last in her Hell in a Cell match with Charlotte. So if I'm WWE and I want to avoid a problem and I don't want to get any hatred or disdain or heat put on a guy that I'm trying to push as a top babyface and a guy I'm trying to push as my top heel, then I do what's right. I do the right thing, and I put the one match that has the most intrigue and has the more legit storyline behind it on last. You see, this is an argument that people have had about SmackDown's No Mercy. You see, everybody has said that Dolph Ziggler and The Miz should have main evented No Mercy. They had the most intrigue. They had the most compelling storyline. It overall together should have allowed them to main event No Mercy. Especially if the ending or the result of the match was going to be Dolph Ziggler winning the Intercontinental Championship and keeping his career. So if you want to try to have Raw in reality and storyline up the ante, improve the better than SmackDown Live, then you have them checkmate SmackDown by putting the most intriguing and compelling storyline on their brand on last, and that being Sasha Banks and Charlotte. These women have already proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that they are on equal par with the men. They have proven without a shadow of a doubt that they can close out and main event a show, not once but twice. Let's not forget last year when they were part of NXT, they main evented. Excuse me there. They main evented a live house show, a live event, if you will, in of all places, Philadelphia. And they were accepted. They were applauded for it. And then what happened 2 weeks ago, or last week on Raw? They main evented Raw in of all places, Los Angeles, at the Staples Center. And what happened? They tore the house down. People applauded it. They enjoyed it. So to me, when you have a positive reaction overall to those kind of decisions, then there is no doubt that the best booking decision for Hell in a Cell, and I guarantee you when David Hero and Damian Nelson do the Be the Booker on October 29th, that they too, David Hero specifically, will state that Sasha Banks and Charlotte have to go on last. I mean, they'll even talk about it this week on the Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday, Battle of the Brands, and the Pro Wrestling Report Saturday Night Show. I guarantee you those two will even admit that Sasha and Charlotte need to go last. Now, I understand some people might question WWE's decision. Some people might ask whether or not WWE is making the right decision in putting two women inside Hell in a Cell. Now, I can understand the concern in those questions, because the majority of the Hell in a Cell matches that we have seen have involved the men. And the men have always done some crazy ass shit. Excuse my language, God. But they have done some crazy ass shit in the history of that match. I mean, just last year, even though it wasn't as bad as what Mick Foley went through, we had Seth and Dean fall from a significant height off this new Hell in a Cell. Heck, earlier this year, we saw Shane McMahon take a dive at The Undertaker from up top the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. And how do I know? Because I saw that event live on pay-per-view. Not in person, but on pay-per-view. Sorry, my hand hit the mic there. But I, along with millions of people, saw it live. So I can understand the concern and the questions of whether or not WWE is making the right decision. Because these ladies seem to like to up the ante all the time they go up against each other. I mean, let's take a look at last year. Even though they didn't main event TakeOver Brooklyn 1, Sasha and Bayley stole the show. And they did things that not even some of the male competitors would even do. Heck, last year, Sasha and Bayley broke the mold. Sasha and Bayley broke the mold by being the first ever women to compete in an Iron Man match. True, it wasn't 60 minutes, but it was half of that, and people applauded them for that. They encouraged the WWE through that to do more. And that is why we got what we did on Raw last week, and that is why we are getting that's why we're getting a women's Hell in a Cell at the Hell in a Cell event with the strong probability that these ladies are going to close out the show. Because let's be honest, there was no other better booking decision to make. No other wiser, smarter decision to make. But again, getting back to the concerns I know people have. Because like I said, Sasha and Charlotte, they, along with the likes of Bayley, Becky Lynch, Naomi, Alicia Fox maybe, if she gets into it. You know, some of the ladies, if not most of the ladies now, seem to at times like to up the ante as far as how can they top the previous match against each other. What can they pull out of the rabbit's hat next? I mean, did any of us expect Charlotte to perform a corkscrew moonsault against Sasha? Did any of us expect that? No. No, we didn't. None of us expected that, but it happened. And that is why it's reasons like that these women are getting the opportunity. Yeah, is there concern that they might try to top that match at Hell in a Cell inside the cell? Maybe even try to go outside of it and climb on top of the damn structure? Probably. And I'm sure WWE officials are going to try to talk them into trying to keep it safe. Try to, not be so high risking as they've been, because this is a different environment that they're in. But a lot of people pretty much said, yeah, you could tell them that, but they're going to probably go and do their own damn thing anyway. And if that's the case, you can't blame Sasha or Charlotte for wanting to do their own thing. You can't blame them, because they know and realize, hey, this is a moment that can define women's wrestling, that can define this women's revolution. Because not only could they possibly close out Hell in a Cell with their Hell in a Cell match, but by doing so, it starts the cycle. It starts the reels turning and allowing the women to compete in more matches that were specifically aimed or targeted for the men only. Matches like a Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania, with the winner cashing in at any time she wants. A ladder match period for a championship. An Iron Woman match, this time on the main roster, maybe for 60 minutes. Heck, an Elimination Chamber match. Like I said, an Elimination Chamber match. Again, like I was saying, the possibilities are endless. Possibilities are endless. Heck, you can have them in Extreme Rule matches, or matches like the new Asylum match, the WWE's version of the Asylum match. And you can have them actually pull out things like barbed wire baseball bats and thumbtacks. Because Sasha and Charlotte realized that this match at Hell in a Cell, which I'm pretty sure they're confident is going to main event and close out the show as well, could and probably will define the women's revolution and start that process to them being allowed to compete in other matches. Heck, a lot of people have said that these women, even before the revolution, some have said that they deserve to be in their own Royal Rumble match. And heck, you got a big enough roster between all three brands now with the women that you could do a Royal Rumble-like match with 15 or 20 women. And it would work. Do you know what this also does for the women at this period in time? It opens up the biggest possibility that a lot of these women have said could become a reality. And you know what? When one thinks about it, folks, it could become a reality a lot sooner than we think. Now, we all complain and talk about how WWE doesn't have any intriguing stories except for maybe certain ones on SmackDown, certain ones on Raw. But the one thing that we always feel is a constant flow for WWE, the one thing we feel is a constant flow for this company, is how they've been booking the women almost flawlessly. True, there have been some botches and some mess-ups here and there. Take Naomi and Alexa Bliss at No Mercy, but that's a different story. I mean, like I said, the one constant is they've booked the women's revolution, the women's division, either, pre-draft and post-draft almost flawlessly. They have given us some intriguing rivalries and feuds, and these are the ones that we talk about the most. Crazy as that sounds. But that, again, ladies and gentlemen, is the one constant that WWE does almost, not 100%, but almost flawlessly, in my opinion. So now, this Hell in a Cell match, despite the questionable decision to let WWE allow women into this match, like I said, this opens up the door for many possibilities, many other matches that have been men-only exclusive matches to be now equally equally divided or equally shared by both men and women. But the one constant that these women have had and have said and have mentioned on numerous occasions, folks, is that they believe women will main event WrestleMania. And we're not talking just main event as being one of the main events that takes place in the middle of the show, at the top of a certain hour. No, we're talking main event, close out the damn event show. A match, I should say. That's right. They're basically talking about main event match that closes out WrestleMania, that sends the people home talking. And honestly, folks, like I was saying, we always complain at the fact that WWE doesn't have anything constant or intriguing with the men so far, except a few things here and there on both brands. But the one constant, as I was talking about, the one constant thing that they do almost flawlessly is book the women's division correct. And right now, WWE is in a situation to where they need to start building the male competitors up so they can have some kind of intriguing storyline that will close out WrestleMania 33. Because if they don't, folks, if they don't do that, then I almost guarantee you that right now, as I'm talking to you, those people in Stamford, Connecticut are strongly considering, because right now they're talking about what's going to close out WrestleMania. Yeah, they're talking about, okay, how can we sell out the Alamo Dome in San Antonio for the Royal Rumble? Okay, they're talking about that. But one of the most constant meetings or topics they talk about in their meetings is who's going to main event WrestleMania? Who's going to close out the show? What rivalry or feud can we build and create that's going to do that? And I guarantee you right now that one of those rivalries, feuds, that they are going to strongly, and I mean strongly I should say, easy for me to say, strongly consider, is to allow the rumored and almost confirmed Sasha Banks Bayley match to main event and close out WrestleMania. Almost guarantee that it is being strongly considered as we speak, among other potential main event matches. I know you're thinking that's impossible, Brian. They wouldn't do that. It's WrestleMania. It's not some average other pay-per-view. It's not any other of the big four. This is WrestleMania, the Super Bowl, the World Series. There's no way they would do it. But guess what? They're gonna do it. They're going to do it if they don't have any strong contenders on the men's side to main event and close out WrestleMania. Many say it's going to take a miracle to get The Undertaker to say yes, despite whether or not he's injured or not. A lot of people say it's going to take a miracle to get The Undertaker to say yes to main eventing WrestleMania. And a lot of people are saying it's going to take a miracle or so to get Sting to say yes to probably main event WrestleMania. And the only reason that would be is if both men faced each other. That would be the only match, as far as I know, as far as you know, as far as anybody knows, that could close out WrestleMania and not get crapped upon, is Undertaker versus Sting. But if that does not happen, then what other choice do you have? Who else do you build up? Do you build up a Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens feud for the Universal Championship and have that close out WrestleMania? Okay, that's possible. That's possible. That's possible. That could be a saving grace there. You have the Shield triple threat that people have been wanting to see close out WrestleMania. That's a possibility there. Or do you have what a lot of people don't want to see happen and become a reality, and that's John Cena, closing out WrestleMania by becoming a 16-time world champion? I mean, seriously, you want that to happen? Honestly, folks, do you want that to happen? Because it's a possibility. It's a possibility that it could happen. But again, these are all probably being strongly considered as we speak. But right there at the very top, I guarantee you, for strong consideration is Sasha and Bailey. Because I think those people in Stamford, Connecticut, despite giving them so much crap and flack, and it's well deserved that the crap and flack that we give them, they realize right now that the one thing the people are talking about as far as potential WrestleMania matches that they will pay to see, that they will go to Orlando and see more so than anything, is Sasha Banks and Bailey. Because they've seen in the past on NXT, these women can tear the house down. They could steal the show. They can go the distance. And the thing is, with that realization, they realize as well that these women have the potential to steal the show at WrestleMania. So what better way to have them steal the show than to end the show? That, to me, is a strong possibility, more so than ever, and it all hinges on what happens at Hell in a Cell. Because historically, you'll have, like I say, two things happening that night. A first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, and possibly, if not more so confirmed, the first ever women to close out and main event a pay-per-view. And with all that considered, and all that happening, on top of the historic fact that you have 3 Hell in a Cell matches in one night, never been done, like I said, never been done, when you strongly consider that, when you strongly look at, like I said, the most historic thing out of it all being the women in Hell in a Cell, and strongly, if not confirmed, to close out and main event the show, then you know something special is going to happen as a result. And what I believe could happen as a result, and it all hinges on how the match comes off, how the match steals the show or it doesn't. What hinges ultimately is what could happen in Orlando this spring. Because I think WWE realizes right now, they either got to start the building blocks to a main event match that closes out WrestleMania for the men, or they end up doing exactly what they're going to do at Hell in a Cell, but in a more historic way, that for the first time in the 33-year history of WrestleMania, or 32-year, despite how you look at it, 32 to 33-year history of WrestleMania, that for the first time ever, the women will main event and close out the showcase of the Immortals. It's a strong possibility, folks, stronger than it's ever been before. That's a fact. That is a true-to-life fact that you have to realize and I have to realize. But it all hinges on Hell in a Cell. Because like I said, historically, two things are going to happen besides the first time you have 3 Hell in a Cell matches in one night. Historically, besides that, you have 2 things happening in one moment in time. The women in a Hell in a Cell match and the women closing out and main eventing a pay-per-view, which is all but confirmed in my opinion. And I guarantee, again, going back to them, David Hero and Damian Nelson will even agree that the possibility of a WrestleMania main event closing out the show being showcased, a WrestleMania main event match featuring the women that would close out the showcase of the Immortals, even those two guys would admit that it's a more stronger possibility than it's ever been. And it all hinges on what happens on October 30th. That's why the women's Hell in a Cell match between Sasha Banks and Charlotte is so important and historic from an all wrestling sports entertainment standpoint, because of what it could lead towards, more so than we've ever imagined, and probably sooner than we've ever thought. So that's all I'm going to say in my opinion on why this match is so important from a historic standpoint. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to y'all later.